And let's kick start. Fantastic. Give me some thumbs up if you can see my presentation, which is good. Yes, perfect. Okay, so welcome to the Create Time, Reduce Errors and Scale Your Profits with SystemHUB live training. As a way to get started, I'd love to get an idea of who's in the room. So if you can maybe type into the chat for me, if you're an owner, a team member, a systems champion, part of the HR team, just tell me a little bit about the position that you take. So we've got a lot of owners here, some team members, a lot of owners. Looks like so far the bulk of the room is owners, but we have some systems champions, system consultant, systemologist. All right, so we've got a huge variety. Now my next question, because everybody comes for different reasons. I know we're here to learn about SystemHUB, but I'd love to get an idea of why you're here today. And we're going to take it through the lens of what problems do you currently have in business, because I don't really think business owners are that concerned with what software they're using. It's more about, hey, does this thing solve my problem? So I'd love to get an idea. Type into the chat some of the problems or the biggest problem that you're facing front and center at the moment and why you're here. So we got here Alex saying she's here to learn from the best, which is good. We've got someone looking to be a systemologist, so I want to understand a little bit more about SystemHUB. Someone looking to scale. Looks like scaling is popping up a bit to learn a bit about systems and procedures, some staffing, scale. So definitely scale seems like a common challenge that people are looking to kind of get everything in place so that they can scale. I know some of the other ones, actually, I can see a couple more popping up in the chat there. Some common challenges that I hear business owners have right now are things like staffing challenges. I think that seems to be a global thing, finding and keeping great staff. I know everybody's facing inflationary pressures, trying to understand when they should be raising their prices, how they should be factoring that into what they're doing, trying to balance their own costs as well. And then there's obviously the evergreen challenges that pop up as well. Everybody's always wanting to get more leads. They're wanting to convert those leads. Sometimes there's some cash flow issues. I think as we kind of think about some of those challenges, one of my core beliefs is always every business problem is a systems problem. And I see SystemHUB as a way to solve business problems. It's about codifying certain solutions. There are certain recurring challenges and problems and things that pop up inside your business, and SystemHUB is about capturing those so that it can be delegated down to less skilled team members as they're training up, and then they can start to take up some responsibility to free up some of those more senior team members to work on only the challenges that they can solve. And SystemHUB, the more that I've done this over the years, I've found that it solves a particular problem very well, and it's for a specific person. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're not trying to be everything to everybody. I'm trying to solve a very specific problem for a specific person. And it kind of all started with scratching my own itch and understanding as we started to grow. Originally, it was Melbourne SEO Services, but I've been involved in quite a number of businesses, and I needed a central place to be able to store our knowledge, to be able to kind of pack it up, package it up, make it useful and easy to use, and make it so that we could start to remove that key person dependency. Initially, I was the main key person that the business was dependent on, but as we started to get some systems in place, we also started to realize there are other key team members that I were quite dependent on. So we wanted to try and house up that knowledge and have it in that central location, so that we could reduce that risk, so I could start to make the business more valuable. And it wasn't until I ended up selling Melbourne SEO Services that I realized that was one of the huge pieces that was valued by the acquirer. And that was a big part of why they wanted to purchase. So over the years, I won't go into my story because you can read the SYSTEMology book. If you haven't read that, head over to Amazon and grab yourself a copy. But I have started, systemised, scaled, and sold 3 companies. SYSTEMology is a lot of the culmination of the knowledge that I've collected in those businesses And it's given me a chance at the end of my last business to kind of take a step out and go, hey, what am I here to do? And my mission is to free all business owners worldwide from the day-to-day operations. And through the book, SYSTEMology, we've been able to help thousands of business owners as they've started their systemization journey and started to systemize themselves out of those day-to-day operations. So it wasn't though until I actually had one of our SystemHUB clients unsubscribe that I actually realized we'd nailed it. Like we'd achieved what we need to. And I know that sounds a little bit weird to have to get excited when someone unsubscribes from SystemHUB, but it happened with this lady here, Jenyns Farron, and she owns a company called Doggy Day Care. And about 10 years into the business, she kind of decided, hey, you know, I'm kind of burnt out by this business. It's time for me to think about, you know, what I'm going to do next after this business. She started it with her sister. You can see her sister there on the screen. And they came across SystemHUB and started going through the process of capturing their best practices, centralizing it, and building up the procedure manual for the way that the business worked. And I knew that Jeanette was using the SystemHUB software because you know, she'd check in with me every now and then, and she'd want me to look in the account and give us some feedback, and I could see the stats of her account, and the staff were using the platform, and slowly she'd weaned herself out of the day-to-day operations. So it was a doggy daycare center where people would come and leave their dog for the day while they'd go off to work, and Jeanette and the team would, you know, give the dogs treats and comb them and wash them and do all those sorts of things. And I knew that she was using that system, as I said, because of the staff and the feedback that I was getting. And then one day out of the blue, I get this note from the team saying, Doggy Day Care was unsubscribing from SystemHUB. So I jumped on the phone and said, hey, Jeanette, what's going on here? And she said, well, over the past couple of years, you know, we've been using SystemHUB and slowly working our way out. And we've just been approached by Petstock, which is a big Australian listed company that purchased Doggy Day Care. And they have these different stores around Australia. You know, it's kind of like Officeworks or Office Max, but for pets. And they wanted to put this Doggy Day Care, something that they would have as like a little sister company, and they would set up these Doggy Day Cares underneath their main Petstock stores. And I said, oh, wow, that's tremendous. And she said, well, the reason we're unsubscribing is, well, two things. One, when they purchased the company, they cited two reasons for buying. They bought it because of the financial performance, and they bought it for the systems. And they said, we see this store as the franchise prototype for us rolling it out across Australia. And being a large sort of corporate company, you know, as I said, it was ASX listed, they had their own internal systems. And she said, they've just taken all of our systems, downloaded them off SystemHUB, and then moved them into their platform. And for me, like, that was a huge win, because when I initially started SystemHUB, this whole idea was to build up that business or our clients' businesses so it was a saleable asset. And, you know, there's a time and a season for when business owners need SystemHUB and SYSTEMology, and Jeanette was the perfect example of that. She came on board, we grew her through the process, and then she ended up getting acquired. And even though she didn't stick with SystemHUB, that for me was a tremendous win, because that was the whole objective of the business. And that's kind of started to shift my thinking. It was kind of when the light bulb moment went on for me, and I realized that we've been able to actually solve this problem. And we solved it for myself first. As I said, we've started, systemized and scaled and sold 3 businesses, but now I've proven that we've been able to teach it, and we've had many clients that have gone on now and had that same approach. So it got me thinking, hey, we're here to serve a very specific person with a specific problem. And we talk about this person on our website. You might have seen this video. His name's Bob, and he's got a team of 7, and he's that business owner who's very much involved in everything. He's stretched pretty thin. He's key person dependent. He's over capacity. Maybe he's got some systems here and there, but they're a bit scattered all over the place. They're on someone's desktop. They're in a Google Drive. They're put in SharePoint. They're all over the place. And he's tried some different platforms, and it hasn't quite worked for him. And Bob is looking to make his business more repeatable. He's looking to scale the business, and he might even sell it. And he knows that systems are key, but he hasn't really found anything that really kind of works for him. Now, I don't know if that sounds familiar for you. Maybe there are elements of that and you go, hey, yep, my business is dependent on me. I haven't yet solved the systems problem. Just to get a little bit of an idea, if you can type into the chat, I'd love to get an idea on the size of your team. So whether that's full-time, part-time, consistent contractors that you work with, just so I get an idea. So we've got 80. So we've got definitely some large business, but then we've got 14, 2, 240, 15, 16, 12, 250, 5, 160. So there's a full gamut here of varying different sizes of business. I'd say our sweet spot is probably anywhere from about 3 staff up to about 40 staff. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have clients that are much larger than that. And we have people using SystemHUB that are kind of like at that enterprise level, and we can see quite a few of them here today. But when I think about the problem that we solve and for whom do we solve it, it's kind of in that sweet spot because there are certain challenges that I know you will have as you go through growing a business of that size. And we've got it incredibly well at solving that particular problem. And software is part of it. SYSTEMology is part of it. Community and templates is part of it. It's about building a systems-driven company. And at the core of that, SystemHUB sits. So what I want to walk through with you today, I want to talk a little bit about the why and the what of SystemHUB. I want to show you a simple systems workflow, just so you can understand how the platform works. I want to show you some examples of some systems and walk you through a client experience and how they were able to go from just themselves, actually starting off solo, and a couple of contractors that they worked with and really started to significantly grow their business. And then I want to finish up talking about why there's never been a better time in history to systemise than right now. And I've mentioned it a few times if you've attended some of my webinars, this idea that COVID has created such an opportunity for business owners to change the culture inside their organization. Oftentimes when you introduce change, there's a lot of resistance. People go, we've always done it this way. Why do I need to change? Or some team members, might be creating a little black box around them and no one really knows what they're doing, and they do it for job security reasons. And it's hard to really make that change stick. But with COVID, your team members are experiencing change in every aspect of their life. It's at home, it's at work, it's in their community. So it becomes the perfect opportunity to introduce this new idea of a systems-driven business. And yeah, I just kind of want to help you to understand how important it is to get moving on this. So that's really what we're going to cover today. I'll try and keep the pace going quite well. You can post some questions as we go into the main chat as well. And I'll be able to capture those. We'll have some time for some Q&A towards the end as well. So let's get started on that first question, the why and the what of SystemHUB. So I think to understand the why, I want to show you what we used to do. That way I can kind of save you some time. And let me just grab a screen just here. So we used to use Dropbox. I have it kept in here, and I don't know if you can see my screen just here, but the way we used to do systems, I have this folder here. It's little. I know that you might have to squint a little bit, but I'm going to open this up. And the way that we used to do systems was we just had a series of folders, and we had, Word documents, RTF files, we had PNGs, different naming conventions and we were kind of pretty good at this. Like, this is reasonably organized for something that's challenging to organize. But this is the way that we used to work our systems. They were really just kind of like unorganized systems. And let's open up one of these. I'll see if we can find one. Deliverables. Let's pick something like our AdWords. Here we go. Maybe here. Overall content auditing system. And these were just Word documents here sitting inside this Google Drive now, or this Dropbox folder. Now, over time, to keep it like this was quite a challenge, as you could imagine. I don't know if anybody's got their systems currently stored in Google Drive or some sort of Dropbox, and they're finding it's challenging. It can be untidy. Systems end up being inconsistent. There are some accessing issues. It's always a challenge to find things when you need it. It was a trouble updating as well when I wanted to get changes. Is there anyone, type into the chat if you're currently using some form of file storage and it's a collection of Word documents to try and handle your systems. Just type in what you're using. So it's a combination of Asana, OneDrive, Google Drive. Yeah. So there's good variety here. SharePoint. Oh, SharePoint is a pain. Asana. Okay, so there's a internal server. There's a huge variety of ways that people have tried to solve this. We started off with using, as I showed you just here, the folder structure. Then we moved to WordPress, and then we moved to Google Sites. And we also dabbled briefly with SharePoint, and each one of them had different challenges, most of the time because they weren't purpose-built, and we were kind of just making it do its thing and trying to shoehorn our systems methodology into a tool that wasn't designed for it. Mostly, you know, particularly when you start to look at things like WordPress and Google Sites, the challenge was not everybody could update the systems, and it usually fell on the shoulders of one or two key team members, like a systems champion, and it didn't end up being the full team. And a big part of building a systems culture and reaching the point where people say, this is how we do things here, is getting everybody involved. So I realized most of these platforms weren't purpose built, so they never really quite nailed it. And there were a few core tenets of beliefs and ideas that I knew the platform needed to cover. So for example, it's my belief that simple scales and complex fails. And I know it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, because when people start to look for solutions on where to store their systems and processes, you look for features and you think, oh yes, you know, I'm going to sign up to this SaaS, software as a service platform, and let's have a look at all of the features. Oh, does it do this? Does it do that? Oh, I want to have as many features as I can. And features actually introduce complexity, and it's extra noise, and it gets in the way of adoption, because complexity on software is like a friction. And anytime there's some sort of learning curve or something that gets in the way, or a team member says, oh, it's just easier not to use the platform, or I have still got to figure this thing out, they just avoid it. So systems are hard at the best of times. You actually want to keep something as simple as possible. You want the minimum viable option that delivers the result. And that's one of our core beliefs when it comes to systems. The other one is keeping your systems and processes separate. Now, this will become more obvious the more you start to build your systems-driven business, because I can see it already. People are mentioning ClickUp and Asana and Basecamp as places where you're trying to store your systems. But those platforms are project management platforms, and you'll start to realize how clunky most of them are to try and store how-to documents in descriptions that don't have the formatting or aren't purpose-built for that. And sometimes you'll see some new software platform, they'll try and be a CRM and a project management platform and a systems management platform, and they try and be something for everyone, which means they end up being nothing to anyone. And I've seen this time and time again. The reason you want to keep your systems separate is a few things. One, your software stack over the years is going to change. You're going to try new software. As the business grows, you're going to get different departments. Certain departments will want to use certain software, and that software stack will change. If you try and lump everything together, it becomes really painful to kind of keep moving from one platform to the next. You just want a simple, easy, central location to store your how-to information and policies that sticks. You want to make sure that it's super clear that this is where the systems are, because that's also the valuable asset at some point should you decide to sell it. You want to be able to point to the potential acquirer and go, here are all of our how-to documents. Just like when Petstock bought Doggy Day Care, they saw that as, wow, we can take that whole chunk and move it straight into our platform. Rather than it being all mushed up with 60 different things and it's all now it becomes this mess that needs to be heavily rebuilt. So there's actually quite a few reasons why the more we do this and the more I've taken businesses through to exit and grown and scale, the more I realize this chunk on its own should be separate. It should be simple and it's just how-to docs. It's not checking things off. It's not assigning tasks. It's not all of that. And one of the other things is you just need to keep focused on this idea of this is how we do things here. And I see a lot of people go wrong with some of the new platforms that they try and introduce. The software tries to change the way that you're currently doing things. There's a good chance that your business and the biggest wins that are going to come from your business is just by making what works repeatable. Like, don't throw everything out and try and start again. Like, if you see the way that someone's using some new bit of software, don't just kind of throw it all out. You can get tremendous wins by going, what is essential? What is repeatable? What is delegatable? Let's capture what we're currently doing and bring everybody up to that standard. Don't try and reinvent things. You first need to create enough space. Most businesses and business owners, they struggle with team members having space. They're stretched too thin. They're working on too many things and they don't have the space to re-engineer. So step number one, before you even get to re-engineering, is capturing what you're doing, making it consistent, bringing everybody up to that standard. Later on, we can consider, once you've got some space, to do some of that re-engineering here. So capture what you're currently doing, get everybody up to that speed to the point at which they say, this is how we do things here. And you do this system by system, drip by drip, brick by brick. There is no shortcut for this. While sometimes templates and there are some things that can speed it up for you, it needs to be molded into your company. And that's why I think, having a systems champion or someone to really drive this initiative is really, really key. That was a big part of the way that Jenyns did it. But understanding these core tenets, understanding what we used to do, we went looking for different platforms and we couldn't find anything. Most were too complicated. Most missed the point. Most didn't really know what they were there to do. They were trying to be something for everybody, when we will solve a very specific problem for a very specific person. And that's why we built SystemHUB, because I couldn't find anything else. And it was built by a systems thinking business for other small businesses that want to be systems driven businesses. This is not an enterprise solution. While we have got some larger clients on the platform, you really need to probably chat with one of the team to determine, is SystemHUB the right fit? Because as you grow, some more enterprisey solutions might be better suited for you. It's for small teams between 30 and 40. We do that incredibly well. And that's the bit that we've solved. And SystemHUB, it's just a cloud-based platform, like a home to store your systems and your processes. As I said, it's not project management. It's not checklist management. It stores your how-tos, and we'll talk a little bit about policies and your staff handbook. And it fixes all of those issues we talked about with Google Drive. It means that your systems are formatted consistently. You can control your permissions. You can add tags for search. It's purpose-built. There's no real onboarding. Like, you'll use SystemHUB and that's the biggest feedback we always get from people, is it's just so simple to use. I designed it round tools and with the same thinking of tools you're already using and your team's using. So they'll just get it. And it gives you everything you need and nothing that you don't. By applying this thinking, that's how we've managed to get some tremendous thinking and some tremendous feedback over the years. Is, I've got clients who've had huge wins. This is all on SYSTEMology Raves page. You can go SystemHUB's Raves page, but we've had businesses that have got improvements by 80% in their efficiency. Business owners that were able to take their first holiday within for 5 years, they haven't had a holiday. Team members who were able to take their first holiday in years. I had companies that have gone down the franchising route. Just recently, we had Mount Martha Preschool get flawless feedback from the governing body here in Victoria, who they're my sons go to that particular preschool, and we ended up gifting them a copy because they're a not-for-profit. And they just went through the process of the auditing because they got the local body, and they came back and they gave them full marks, full stars, no feedback, which is unheard of for a governing body to do this for that particular thing. And it's all about capturing that knowledge, centralizing it, making it simple and easy. There are companies that use SystemHUB to scale and then sell their company, and we've got lots of them on the website. And that's really, I think, what I'm most proud of is I've got other colleagues with other businesses that I've come across, and every few months they're trying something new. They're chasing the latest whiz-bang feature. They're looking for some piece of software to solve all of their troubles. It's like they're chasing this shiny objects, just hoping that oh yes, software is going to solve their problem. And I was chatting with Simon Kelly, one of our systemologists. He's kind of got a little bit of a tech background, so he's always coming across different tech. And he said, I finally get it. Now, he's been in the SystemHUB systemology space for years. And he said, I've seen it now. Simple is best, simple scales. There's no need to overcomplicate this. You take what works, you make it repeatable, you stick with it. I get it now, and that's why SystemHUB works. Over the years, we've made it even more efficient by rolling it into this ecosystem beyond just SystemHUB. It's the systemology thinking. It's the system to systemize your business. It's the template. It's the community that really makes what we have very unique, and we solve this problem better than anyone else. So that's a little bit about the why and the what. I'd love to show you a little bit more about how it works now, like give you a quick little workflow, particularly as a business owner, and say, this is all you need to think about. Like, your job isn't to do the documentation. Your job is to capture the way that you're doing things, create the workflow to very simply pass it to your team to be able to execute on it. So really the job of the business owner and the way that we use SystemHUB is, and I'll walk you through it, we record yourself doing a task, it gets saved. It then might get passed over to a team member who's going to improve it, and then we end up sharing it. And the workflow is so simple. So let me walk through and show you. So one of our team members, we're in the process of moving our sales CRM. Does anybody use a sales CRM? I don't know, put your hand up just so I know. No. Anyway, we used to use one called Nutshell. Just recently, we've swapped to Pipedrive, and in that process, we're needing to re-record and create a bunch of our new systems for this new sales CRM. So one of our team has recorded this video about adding a lead into Pipedrive. So step number one, as a business owner and your key team members, is they need to get comfortable recording things. Maybe it's with Loom and it's doing a screen recording. Maybe it's on their iPhone. Maybe it's on a GoPro. Whatever's the easiest way to kind of record little videos of tasks getting done. Once that's done, then we jump over into SystemHUB, and this is just my SystemHUB account, so it's going to look probably a little bit more filled out than a brand new account. But we are looking to, create a deal inside Pipedrive. I've got the video here. I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard. I come over to SystemHUB. Now, what is this? This is sales. So it's a sales CRM. So I'm going to put it in our sales section, and then I'm going to come down here to our tools. So this is a sales tool. Now I'm going to click on this. And then I'm going to hit add new, and I want to add a new folder because we're going to have a bunch of videos around Pipedrive. So I'm just going to create a new folder called Pipedrive. And then inside that Pipedrive folder, and you'll notice how easy it is for navigating around. Like, these just look like folders, which you kind of already familiar with. So again, that's what makes it so easy for your team to get around. The difference is when we click on the file type. So I'm going to add a new system here, and let's call this one how to add a deal in Pipedrive, and we'll just hit create. Because it's purpose built, it's designed to house everything that you need to do with a how to document, a system. You can very easily come in here. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to drop this video link in here and hit add. That's now embedded into the system. Now I'm going to say that this system is kind of currently under construction. So I'm going to flick this to orange so the rest of the team know that this is just early days. And then I'm going to hit publish. Now my job as a business owner is, and your key team members, is done. That's it. They need to record themselves doing tasks. You need to think about where they're saved. You create files, and it's just a way to centralize and organize all of your knowledge. Now, you would grab that link, and we happen to use Slack for our internal communications, but let's say this is Slack in here. I might then come down to my assistant, Febby. She's offline at the moment, but I'm going to say, hey, Febby, can you create a system for this? And then I just send her the link. That's really the job of the business owner and the key team members and supervisors. That's what they should be thinking about. Now, Febby, on the other hand, she might come in here. Now, Febby, we have our documentation training. I'll kind of show you a little bit about that a bit later. But Febby will come in here and she'll watch the few-minute video, and then she might add some notes. This system is about blah, blah, blah. And then she'll watch it and say, okay, there's step number 1. There's step number 2. There's step number 3. Now she might take some little screenshots from the video or whatever, and she can just drag and drop that into place here. She can add videos. She can add email templates. She can upload attachments. That's pretty much it. We have a system, obviously, for the way that we create a system. I capture it and I share it. And then now, anytime I want to teach one of our sales team, hey, here's how you add a deal in Pipedrive, we grab this link and we share it with them. Again, you don't need to overcomplicate things. Now, if I'm going to share it with them, there's a couple of ways I could share. I can click every SystemHUB link has a URL, a custom URL. This URL can be posted in multiple different locations. Or if I was working with an external contractor, I come down here to share and I create this external share link. And then I can post this. This is an external share link. They can now see the system without logging into SystemHUB. So you then get control over what people can and can't see. So you can kind of start to see how this all comes together. I just recorded it, I saved it, I passed it to a team member to improve it, and then we try and share it with the key team members. SystemHUB is a central place. It's easy. Everybody can use it. And this is where we store our knowledge here. And this is how we do it here. And every new team member that starts, this is what they first learn. So this just becomes part of the way that they do things. The question popped up from Belinda, does that link update as you update the system? You have the opportunity to regenerate it. So the short answer is no. Every time you edit the system, the URL doesn't change by design. You can then grab that link and then you put that into your project management platform, or you share it externally using the share link, and you can make changes and it will update in the document. So as your systems evolve and improve, you don't have to keep resharing and changing anything because it's the same link. So good question there, Belinda. Now, when we think about how this is applied, following the same process of record, save, improve, and share, one of our clients, they own a karate gym, and before SystemHUB, they had this problem that they couldn't get their staff to do the end of day procedure. The gym wasn't getting reset back the way that it should be. Equipment was getting left out. Things weren't getting cleaned. So they created an end of day procedure. The business owner recorded themselves at the end of the day doing the closing procedure. That was then saved inside SystemHUB. They had a team member who watched it and pulled out the key points and then turned that into a system, and it was documented. They then created a QR code with the link to that system. So they grabbed the share link and then they popped that into a QR code and then they stuck it next to the light switch. So at the end of the day, the team member, the senseis, would come up and scan it on their phone. They'd jump to the system, they'd run through that, and then the final step was basically them filling out the form to get paid. And we've just seen this countless times. There's another client, PorterVac, who works with trades-based people. A lot of their team members, they're not super tech savvy. So they end up, sometimes a tradesperson will have a question, and over time they've collected all of the answers to these questions. And a new tradesperson will call up head office and say, oh, I don't know how to do this thing. I don't know how to set up the equipment. And head office grabs the link and then SMSs it to them. And yes, that's clunky. Yes, they could log in on their phone and navigate to it, but they're tradespeople and they can't just get them. Some of their team just won't embrace it as far as like getting technically savvy. So they've found the workaround. I've worked with a bakery who puts QR codes on everything throughout their kitchen. How to mix dough sits on the dough machine, how to set ovens correctly, how to use a cash register. And they just put QR codes everywhere just to make sure that, I mean, the key here, hopefully the lesson that you're getting is you want to make sure that the systems are easily accessible at the point at which you need them. Whether that's assigning a task, whether that's, you know, out in the field with a QR code, you want to make sure it's easy to just click to get to the how-to document. You don't want to make it fancy, and I can run through fancy features, but today isn't about fancy features. I mean, yes, we have sign off on documents. There's two-factor authentication. There's whitelisting. There's email templates, best practice templates, but you don't need to make systems more complex than they need to be. Don't chase features. Go for simple. If you can't make simple work, you'll never make complex work. So try and make it as easy for yourself as possible. And really, who cares? Like, you shouldn't be judging it based on feature. You should be judging it based on, does it work? A good example of it working is this guy, Den Lennie. He's a business coach for videographers, one of our clients. He moved from the UK to Australia, decided he didn't want to run a video business anymore, and said, right, I'm going to get into video coaching and coaching other videographers how to do their business better. Now, initially, early days when he started his business, he was doing everything. He's doing the marketing, the sales, the delivery. He was flat out 6 days a week, working ridiculous hours. And when he wasn't working, he realized he wasn't making any money. And he started to get burnt out. And then he came across SystemHUB, and he just very simply started to record everything that he was doing, little Loom videos, and he was saving them into his SystemHUB account. Systems around how to use podcasting, how to set up his calendar, what his sales process looks like, his basic editing system. There were just lots of little 3 and 20-minute videos. He just started collecting them. He wasn't even sure how he was going to use them because he didn't have much of a team at that point in time. But he knew intuitively, for him to be able to grow, he needed to pass this knowledge down, and he just wanted somewhere to store them, just like I showed you. Then he ended up hiring a VA. It was about 6 months. He did a whole bunch of videos it was just him. Then he hired a VA, Milka. She started watching the videos. He actually gave her a copy of the SYSTEMology book, and he said, read the book. This is how we do things here. And said, right, I want you to watch these videos, and I want you to document them, pull out the key steps and put the documentation into place. And that's what she started to do. She started to document all of the systems that he recorded. And then over time, it was a funny thing started to happen. Milka started to say, I can do that for you. I can do that for you. Some things she could do, some things she couldn't do. But there was a lot that she could, and she started to take things off Den's plate, and his capacity started to increase. She started to handle all of his LinkedIn marketing, connecting with the target audience, sending the first email. She started doing his podcast, the outreach, booking people on shows, doing the show notes, she found an editor on Upwork. That's what Den used to do, and then got the systems for posting it over there. And she managed that whole process, even though she wasn't a podcast editor or something like that. He, over time, stopped doing the admin. He brought on another assistant, and he focused on only the things that he could do. He created content, he did the sales process, and he was the one that had the group calls to hop on with the clients. He was working 6 days a week, half that went down to 3. Ended up increasing his prices and got an uplift of 85% in that revenue while reducing the amount of time and effort that went in. And he did it all over a course of 12 months. And he just chip by chip, brick by brick, drip by drip, stayed focused and worked his way closer. But it got better. Like, he started to build these systems, And then he turned these into systems that his clients could use. So he created best practice systems for how to do lead generation for video businesses, how to do how to do sales calls as a video business, how to set up projects, how to do editing. And he started to build out all of these systems that he ended up giving to his clients. He skyrocketed his retention of clients because he was providing real solutions to real problems that his clients had. And they were these proven systems and they absolutely loved it. Now, Den will tell you himself, he's just gone from strength to strength. And I love to share this story because it shows anybody can do it, even if you're just starting off solo and it's just you. You got to be consistent. You got to be persistent. You don't need anything fancy here. Don't look at what McDonald's is doing. Don't look at what Subway's doing. Don't look at Google, Amazon. They've all been systemizing for a huge amount of time. They've got huge budgets. They're able to throw tremendous amount of money at this and they're operating at a different scale. You need to think about where did they get started? Go back. It needs to be rough around the edges. They need to be raw videos that you just capture because that's version number 1. Every video that you first create or every system, the first time you create it, it'll be the worst it will ever be. Every iteration after that gets better and better and better. But you have to start somewhere. Most people never start. That's the issue. So if we look at some systems, so this is a system, I had my VA create a system on the daily tasks that she does on Facebook for engagement, commenting, invites, and reviews. That's not the best use of my time. It needs to happen every day, but that's something that everybody can be delegated towards. Now, if you want to have a look at this system yourself, get out your phone. I'll do the same. Look at the QR code, move your phone up to the screen, make sure you've got it on photo mode, click the system. It pops up like this. I don't know if you can see that because I don't know if it's going to focus on my phone or not. It takes you directly to the system. Now, that'll give you an idea. You'll see a system. I didn't create it. There's a couple of team members who created it. And we've got a system for the way that we do the documentation. So again, you'll see how this starts to come together. Has that system popped up for anyone else? Give me a thumbs up if it has. Yep, perfect. So you can see that system. Now, once you get a system and you get a SystemHUB account, you can go into something like this. So this is that system that I just shared with you. You can hit this button here, import. You hit import. I'm going to import this one now into my SystemHUB account. I'll just pop it underneath start here, and I'm just going to hit import. Actually, I probably shouldn't have put it under there because, you know, it's probably a social media one. So I probably would put it underneath marketing, social media. But that's all right. We can move that system down in here. I'll just put it underneath marketing. Okay, there it is. And that's that system. Now, for those who watch what we do, you'll know SystemHUB and SYSTEMology has got to be one of the most incredibly sharing organizations known to man. If you're on the emails, you'll get YouTube videos, you'll get links to systems, you've got, like, if you went back through all of the emails and you trawled through, I link to systems that you can then click on and then hit import and add it to your account. If all business problems are systems problems and we've solved a truckload of problems and we share them in system-based format, you want to start collecting these things. I think there must have been a little while ago, our team just shared a bunch of systems around how to recruit VAs and onboard VAs. I mean, talking about what we just talked about with Den Lennie, that would be a great system to think about building up in your business. Then you take these links and I'm just going to mute you if that's all right, Arla. You take these systems and then where you want to do it is if you use a project management platform, it doesn't matter what project management platform you use. We use Asana, clients use Basecamp, ClickUp, Asana, Monday, Trello, whatever. But when you assign a task, look here, Facebook daily engagement tasks. This is Al Nil's job and he does it daily. There's a link to the system at the point at which the task is assigned to him. That is the key. You want to make sure when a task is assigned, it's clearly outlined how it's done. Sometimes it's done through project management software. Sometimes it's a QR code that you stick to the wall next to something. Like print it out, put it right where, whatever makes it easier. there's discussion, I think very shortly, we'll probably end up having a QR code generator inside SystemHUB. For now, though, I searched free QR code generator on Google, and then I go to a website, I grab any URL and I put it into the free QR code generator. There's about 10 of them. I think I did this one on the QR code-monkey.com, but there's a truckload of them, and you download it as a PNG. Like that's as simple as it needs to be. So again, I just want to make sure that you keep things simple when it comes to systems. Don't over chase for features. If you've got any questions, you can, okay, there you go. David Fotheringham had asked about the barcode creator. It's on the development queue. I think on the next, not the next sprint, but the one after that, you will find the QR code generator will be built in. But if you have any other questions, you can type that into the chat. There we go. Okay, so James he's actually private messaged me on this one. You don't have to private message. You can do it in the main group chat. His question was around spotting policies and if SystemHUB handles policies. I'm going to jump in here. I just showed you the systems area, the policies area. Like what are policies? Policies is like a staff handbook. It's how you onboard team members and you outline policies and things like that. Again, keep policies simple. These are just a series of folders, and it works the same way as the systems area, only it's for policies. And you can see here, when a new team member comes on board at SystemHUB or SYSTEMology, we get them to go through here, and there's a little, video and talks a little bit about us, our core values. They get down here and there are company policies and those sorts of things. And as they go through it, actually, I'll show you this one actually. You can also, again, I don't want to chase features because some of you don't even have any policies in place. So you don't need to think about signing off and things like that. But here, there's an agree and sign button. So as people go through, they can agree and sign off that they've read that particular policy or system. Now, if I want to edit this one and I then come into the approval register, you can see who's signed off. There we go. Amy's on the call. I can see her there, and she's up the top there. So Amy signed off on the 24th of March, 2022, and who hasn't signed off. And we can notify them if we want them to come back and sign off. So again, I don't want to get too much into some of those sorts of things. The policy section works in much the same way. You want a combination of how-to documents or systems or processes, whatever you want to call them. That's this area here. And then you also have your policies, which are more about the rules of engagement and things around leave policy and things like that. We do have another section here called training. While I'm at it, let me cover that. Training. So in here, we build out certain trainings for our team. So this is our documentation writing training. So when we're training up our team members, we've got team members that do documentation for our systemologists. We'll create a video and we basically stitch together, we call these learning tracks. And there's a range of different learning tracks that you can go through around documentation here. And you actually sign off on each one of these, and you can't sign off on the entire documentation training until you've signed off all of the individual ones. So if I come into foundations here, and then I hit agree, and I'll just agree that I've just watched that. And when I go back to the introduction here, you can now see that's marked off as complete. So you can then start to create these learning tracks for team members to go through and consume content. I probably didn't want to go that far into it because, again, it depends on where you're at. If you're just creating systems, keep it simple first. It's those little Den Lennie videos and storing them in a central location. Don't worry about creating learning tracks and thinking about policies and everything. It's like a process. That's what systemology is. It's a system to systemize your business. Start off with the simple how-to documents first. Create a little bit of space. If you've got an HR department or someone in HR, they might start working away at the policies. And then when you get really good at this, you start to use the trainings to create training tracks. So there is some notes coming in here. Can you put in access levels? Yes, you can put in access levels as well. And Amy's mentioned a range of different policies and system templates that are all included in our scale plan as well. So let me keep moving because I want to make sure that we try and finish on time. And I know Louise has just posted a question. I'll try and get some more to those questions as well, but let's get through this bit that we need to. If you've got more questions, remember to keep it simple, and it's okay to ask. Business owners don't need to have all of the answers. At head office, at SystemHUB and SYSTEMology, we've been really busy over the COVID break. We've built out a network of systemologists. We've trained them up on systemHUB and systems deployment, and they're ready to take your business to the next level. If you want to find out more about how they, if you want more of a hands-on approach, I know we're here to kind of talk about systemHUB, which is just the software, but we're now kind of creating this complete solution where we have consultants who then can come in and really help you to deploy this stuff. You can find out a little bit more about that. The last thing I suppose I want to cover here, we've talked a bit about the why and the what of systemHUB. We talked about the simple systems workflow. I showed you some example systems. We talked through the Den Lennie example. I kind of want to talk a little bit about getting yourself started and what that might look like. The question when it comes to systems, it's not if, but when. It's not if you need to create systems, rather when will you need to create systems? Because all great businesses, they have great systems. It is the only way to remove key person dependency. You need to clearly outline what needs to be done so it can be passed on. So systems, in my view, and I'm a little bit biased, but I think they're the most important asset in business. You're going to need to store your systems somewhere. Google Drive, Google Sites, Dropbox, they all do a very rubbish job at it. A lot of our competition, and I'm not even going to say that because I don't like throwing mud, but a lot of them have lost their focus. They're trying to be everything to everybody. So they end up being nothing to nobody. You want to have it central. It needs to be easy to use. It needs to be standalone. You don't want your documents scattered everywhere. You don't want bells and whistles. You want it simple that a team member can learn without any sort of onboarding. So you can start now, or you can put it off. The longer you leave it, the harder it gets. I tell you now, systems, it doesn't get easier the bigger you get. Ask some of these guys that are joining on the webinar today how hard it is to change systems culture when you have 80 staff. It is like pushing a rock up a hill, not a rock, a boulder. Like it's like standing under Niagara Falls with a styrofoam cup trying to throw the water back over the top. Like it's so hard. The time to start is when you're smaller and you build it into the DNA of your business. The longer you leave it, the harder it costs. The longer you leave it, the more it costs to roll this thing out. And you don't even realize how much it's costing you not to systemize. In errors, in waste, in lost efficiency, in lost time, in lost opportunities. Don't let another year go by. We're moving into the time of the year that you should be planning for next year and making sure that you get yourself set up. Each system will save you a little bit of time. It makes you that little bit more repeatable. And systems compound over time. So you might save 5 minutes on a system, and you put one system in place. That might add up to a day over a year. You get 10 systems in place, and each of them are saving you 5 minutes. Now you've saved 10 days per year. Think about how much time I have saved by not going into Facebook and doing those comments and engagements and accepting people every single day. That's not a good use of my time as a business owner. I'm adding no value. But now I've got that little chunk of time back every single day for the rest of my business career. That's and systems, like that's only if a system saved you 5 minutes a day. I can tell you now, systems, when you get it right and you build up that skill and that momentum, are going to save you a heck of a lot more time than 5 minutes. Like this is an asset that builds up over time. And the best news is there's never been a better time to systemize them right now. COVID and that change, I talked about it right up front. If you're going to create a systems-driven culture, do it now while there's a window of opportunity. And you can say, we are having to make this change because I know there's a chance you'll be off sick and you need to work from home, or a family member is, and I need to make sure that the business continues. So when you come back, we hit the ground running. Systems will help you move up in our organization. If you can delegate down tasks that you're doing to lower cost, less skilled team members, that frees you up to do higher value tasks. That makes you more valuable in this business. The way you move up in the organization is to delegate down. Get that message across to your team, introduce that, and then lean into this. The most of the resistance is going to come up front. It will be hard. Team members won't want to change. Some team members have created that little black box for job security. You don't know what they're doing, and they like it that way. So that way you can't get rid of them. The only problem with that is you're now dependent on them. You don't want key person dependency. If your business has key person dependency, it's broken. I know we covered kind of a lot, and I kind of dropped just a few ideas into your lap. I can tell you now, it's proven. SystemHUB works. It's simple. It's cost effective. It's scalable. And I love this stuff. This is what I do. Stop coming up with excuses why you can't own a systems-driven business. This is what we do. I can show you how we do it. You can join thousands of business owners that we've worked with in the past and present who use SystemHUB as the home for all of their systems and processes. You can sign up for a trial. You can chat with one of the team, and you can start to transform your business. That's really what we're here to do. For me, once you start to see a systemized business, you can't unsee it. Some of you haven't yet seen what a systemized business can do. You only know it conceptually or in theory. You've looked at some businesses that have systems in place, or you think about some competitors that have got systems in place, and why is their life easier? Why are they growing quicker in a down market? I can tell you why. They're efficient. They've figured things out. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. For me, I discovered it with Melbourne Video Production. My video production business was a sister company to Melbourne SEO. We set up that because of customer demand. I'm not a camera guy. I don't know how to do the cameras. I don't know how to edit. And because of that, I built that business without me being the technician. From day one, that business had to operate via systems without me. That's where my breakthrough came from.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then I took those lessons and I took them back and rolled them into Melbourne SEO. That enabled me to break out of the trap that I was in for Melbourne SEO for 10 years. We systemized it. We hired a CEO. I took out 9 months while we had actually it ended up being a bit longer than that because we had a baby, and I took some time out, and that's when I regrouped. And then that's when SYSTEMology was birthed and SystemHUB and all of that thinking happened. And a funny thing happens when the business owner has space. Now, I don't know if this is the universe reaching down and tapping me on the shoulder or what it was, but when I stepped away from the business, I had the opportunity of a lifetime fall in my lap. And if it had fallen in my lap 12 months earlier, I would have had to turn down the opportunity of a lifetime because I was too busy and I couldn't step away from the business. But I systemized the business. I took the time out, and then I got an email from this guy's wife, Luz Delia Gerber. Now, if you don't know Michael Gerber, he wrote the book, The E-Myth. He's the godfather of business systems. And his wife emails me out of the blue, randomly, and says, "Oh, I saw what you did on your first book launch, Authority Content. Can you do the book launch for Michael Gerber? All of his previous books have gone through HarperCollins. And for this final book, Beyond the E-Myth, we've decided we want to maintain the rights and we're not going to go through a traditional publisher." And then I just happened to come across one of your videos on YouTube and had been watching me in the digital agency. And we wondered if you'd do it for Michael. And I said, "Well, I don't really do book launches, but okay." I couldn't fall. I fell over myself just to take that opportunity. And to cut a long story short, because you'll read about it in the SYSTEMology book, that's been a game changer for me. I feel like I've been blessed with, the godfather of business systems saying, "Dave has it figured out with SYSTEMology and SystemHUB." He says everybody, all small businesses should be going through the SYSTEMology Academy, because SYSTEMology and SystemHUB, it's the how-to guide. It's the implementation guide for the E-Myth. This stuff works. And I know that makes it sound like a magical story. And it was a magical story. But the truth is, I'm not a Shark Tank celebrity guru. I'm not a professor. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't even go to university. I don't shoot lasers out of my eyes. I can't fly. I don't have any special powers. I'm just a guy who stumbled upon what I think is the best kept secret in business. And now I want to share it with you. Like, I feel for business owners, and it's my mission to free all business owners worldwide from the day-to-day operations of running their business. And I do that through SystemHUB and SYSTEMology. So hopefully you enjoyed what we covered today. I would love for you to join us. We covered a lot around what and why of SystemHUB and how we used it to scratch our own itch. Shared with you that simple workflow of record, save, improve, and share. I showed you some example systems with the social media system, and I showed you how Den Lennie did it. And you can look at the SYSTEMology and SystemHUB website and see how hundreds and thousands of other businesses have done it. And we've talked about why you must do it now. It's not going to get any easier. We're pretty much on time, and I try and be as respectful on time as I can be. So we'll wrap it up there. If you have some questions, you can obviously sign up for a SystemHUB trial. You go to systemhub.com/trial. You can then connect with one of the team, and they'll be able to answer any questions and kind of guide you through it. We might have a separate forum, because I can see a bunch of questions still sitting in my chat that we weren't able to get. So I will try and get to some of those as well. But thank you, and I hope you got a lot from this, and get out there and systemize your business. Trust me, it'll be the best thing you ever did.